Exercise and LDL. We now know through decades of research that exercise can be an effective method for lowering LDL. This is shown with aerobic exercise, anaerobic exercise, and resistance training exercise. There are several mechanisms at play when looking at how exactly, mechanistically, how that is happening. It's really exciting. Hi, I'm AJ Fisher. I am the creator of the Hypoxix method, the breathography technique. I've been using breathwork and exercise for many years with all of my clients, and now my online studio, hypoxix.studio. Please visit me, hypoxix.fitness, my free community. Come on in, because I want to take a deeper dive with you, because this is part 2, as to how combining breath work with exercise potentially could be even more effective than simply exercise alone at lowering LDL cholesterol specifically. Now, why am I diving very deep into this? Well, I've had several case studies now of individuals who have been studying the Hypoxix technique. They've actually been using the breath work, this breath method, with their exercise program for a couple of years now, and they have significantly lowered their LDL. So this is encouraging all of these videos, because I'm trying to take a deep dive and try to elucidate why this would be happening. It's fascinating to me. There's one case study that I'm particularly interested in, because she has shown significant lowering of her LDL, and literally the only thing that she changed was combining the breath work with exercise. Now, I'm extremely interested in using, now of course this is my technique, I invented it, but we've been studying it. I've been studying it at a postgraduate level, and at the university, we have now seen that in the breathwork with exercise group, increased fat loss, increased basal metabolic rate, and increases in strength gain in the breathwork with exercise group versus involuntary breathing or unintentional breathing, or just not thinking about your breathing during exercise. So this is all massively interesting to me. Part 1 of this video is the potential mechanisms as to why breathwork with exercise would increase fat loss in your exercise routine. So check out that part 1, because it's all related. We know that lowering of fat and improving body composition can simply lower the, well, not simply, but can effectively lower the LDL cholesterol. And so it's all incredibly fascinating to me. A lot of this is hypothetical, because there isn't enough research for me to say with confirmation a lot of these things that I'm about to speak on. And this is why I want to just use these videos, these YouTube videos, as a way to open up the conversation with breath workers, with trainers. I'm making certain connections based on the research that I've done, and also the formal research, and also the informal research that I've been performing for many years. I've been giving my workouts for free online just to perform informal trials and get data from individuals. If you would like to try my 8-week cohort for free, it's on hypoxix.fitness. I put it up there for free, as long as you're willing to be my guinea pig and give me blood oxygen data, heart rate data, and a couple of different measurements before and after. One of which now would be amazing if you could give me your LDL. That's not a requirement, because I know it's challenging, it's tricky to get your blood work before and after, but these are some things, some blood markers that I have been receiving from individuals, and it is fascinating to me. So I'm going to dive deep-ish right now into this. I have found so much, and I have so many hypotheses that this, even though this is part 2 of this big LDL and exercise and breathwork series, this part 2 is how aerobic and strength training affect LDL, and how breath work could also then affect the muscle metabolism of LDL. And really, I've opened up such a can of worms that I feel as though this video right now, the next few minutes, is only a superficial look as to the potential mechanisms as to why combining the breath work with exercise could be more effective than exercise alone. Again, a lot of these are hypotheses, so please, scientists, exercise scientists in the room, people who know even more about these areas than I do, I'm just opening up the conversation. I'm also an artist. I started my career as a Broadway singer and dancer. And so I bring art to the table, meaning I create certain, I look at everything artistically, whether it's creating an exercise program, or it's looking at research. I surely have a very curious scientific mind, but again, I consider myself an artist, and so I'm not making statements saying that these are fact, but I'm just throwing these ideas out there because, again, there's not enough research on breathwork to say the following statements with absolute positivity. Okay, so let me start to get into it here. I know it's crazy. All the nerds in the room, you get it, right? I just dove deep into like 30 papers, and now I realize there's like 150 more that I need to read, and that's why we're going to continue on with this. So we know, for those of you who understand the mechanisms that are at play when we're looking at why exercise can potentially help to lower LDL, we know that it increases HDL, that good cholesterol. HDL it's like a Pac-Man scavenger for the bad for the bad cholesterol, the LDL. So you increase HDL, and that helps to metabolize the LDL. So you can view HDL as like this hungry Pac-Man that's like yum 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 yum. There's the bad cholesterol. Those are the really dense, yummy LDL. They're very dense, and I'm going to eat them. Yum yum yum. So I think exercise has been shown in a ton of studies, whether it's aerobic exercise, anaerobic exercise, strength training, to increase levels of LDL. This is good because it catabolizes. Catabolism is simply the lessening of the breaking down of. It helps to break down that LDL. That's a good thing. This is in general why we like to see higher levels of HDL. Okay, exercise also increases enzymatic activity that helps to clear the blood cholesterol. So I know I'm trying to not be too scientific, and I'm trying to use imagery like Pac-Man. Let me know in the comments if that's helpful for you. So lipoprotein lipase, that is an enzyme that is also increased in activity after exercise. This has been shown to increase as a result of a lot of exercise, but specifically aerobic, anaerobic exercise. Strength training has been shown to increase levels of adiponectin. Adiponectin increases activity of the HDL. So you see, HDL is the hungry Pac-Man. It eats that bad cholesterol, and so increases in adiponectin from strength training. That is also a good thing. So you see the correlation between, it seems that improving our body composition, but increasing activity of our muscle helps to scavenge the LDL. Some resistance training studies have shown that simply increasing muscle mass, because of the potential metabolism of the blood lipids and the LDL, can also be an effective strategy of lowering our LDL. So you see, the more metabolically active we are, the more we can increase that muscle mass, increase the activity of the muscle mass, increase the insulin sensitivity of the muscle mass, the better off we are. Another example for you is high blood sugar is correlated for sure with high LDL. Lower that blood sugar, and we have improvements in our LDL. Increased activity of muscle enhances that insulin sensitivity of the muscle. So if you view the muscle as this surface that has a ton of insulin receptors on it, when we increase the activity of the muscle, we're increasing the activity of those insulin receptors, and so therefore the increased insulin sensitivity of the muscle, that helps to lower our blood sugar. And so there we have that lower blood sugar, and lower blood sugar is correlated with LDL. Lower blood pressure is also correlated with LDL. Those increases in nitric oxide in our exercise session, that is also going to lower our LDL. If we increase the activity of the muscle, because increased nitric oxide levels have been shown to enhance the activity of the muscle, because nitric oxide simply opens up that muscle cell and allows for more oxygenation and more blood flow through the muscle. Well, now we have an enhanced metabolism of the muscle, potentially with increased strength. Now, why am I bringing up nitric oxide so much? Well, let's go back to my case study. She is an amazing individual because she was aerobically fit, has always been very aerobically fit, has performed her strength training, has always had a very consistent diet of vegetables and protein. So she's a great one to study because her before and after, really the only change is that she added the breath work in conjunction with exercise. Really, that was the only change in her LDL specifically. Now, there have been a few cases here, and that's why I'm very interested in this. But her case in particular, she lowered her LDL from 170 to 120, which is still high for her, but she's always been high, even despite all of these, the cardiovascular fitness, the healthy diet. And so she is a bit of an outlier. And so it's interesting for her, like, why is her LDL lower, significantly lower now versus a year and a half ago when she started the Hypoxix method using the breathography technique in conjunction with exercise? Well, let's just go through a couple. Let's go through a couple of hypotheses. And this is really, we're only going to go through a few right now because there are so many. I want to stay as focused as possible. She has also lowered her blood pressure, and she had a healthy blood pressure before. It was about 120 over 80, which is normal. And now it's consistently like 110, 107 over like somewhere around 70. That's pretty much where mine is. Her case is highly interesting to me because she already had been cardiovascularly fit, and the only change she made was adding the breath work with the exercise. So we know that breath work increases nitric oxide in the system. Exercise increases nitric oxide in the system, but she was exercising before. And so when she combines the breath work with exercise, is she increasing her nitric oxide even more? Of course, this is where we need to run our next study. Please, grant gods, give us more money, the next study, so we can test nitric oxide levels during exercise. The study would be exercise and nitric oxide, exercise only, not thinking about breathing. And then, of course, the exercise in tandem with the breath work and looking at the nitric oxide levels. My hypothesis is that there are greater levels of nitric oxide in the system when combining breath work with exercise. A couple of reasons for that. The one is the fact that she's lowered her blood pressure even more, and the nitric oxide has an extremely high effect on lowering of blood pressure because it exists in the epithelial wall, or just the lining of the blood vessel, and when it's increased in the system, it opens up the blood vessel, meaning we get more blood rushing through, it relaxes, it lowers the blood pressure, we increase the blood flow in our muscle when working out. You see where I'm going with this? We increase the oxygen delivery. So potentially, I know that she has improved her body composition. She's certainly lowered her body fat. Her, all of her clothes are fitting more loosely. She weighs about the same, which, shows me, of course, when your pants are looser, your waist is smaller, but you weigh the same. You've certainly improved your body composition because body fat, or fat in general, takes up about 30% more, 30% larger in volume. So here's a pound of fat, and here's here's a pound of muscle, and here's a pound of fat. So it's usually about 30% larger. And so, little side note there. And so her muscle cell is seemingly more active in her exercise session. So she has lowered her blood pressure. Lower blood pressure always correlates with lower LDL. So there's one mechanism, and seemingly because she's combining the breath work with the exercise, she has enhanced her nitric oxide activity even more than she had been before with just normal cardiovascular endurance exercise, strength training, all of the great things that we know that increase nitric oxide levels. But now she's combining the breath work with those exercises that she had been doing before, potentially increasing the nitric oxide even more. In part 1, I actually do go into nitric oxide and its effects on lowering LDL for many reasons. It actually is also an antioxidant and can help with the improve the antioxidant activity inside the LDL particle itself, which can also improve our blood cholesterol levels. So that's an interesting side note. And so increasing that nitric oxide in the system, if we are going to increase the blood flow in our muscle cell, enhance oxygen delivery to the muscle cell, don't you think that increased nitric oxide levels could potentially improve our body composition even more greatly than it generally would be improved by performing strength training without the breath work. So there's the first hypothesis. And if we're increasing blood flow to the muscle cell, most likely we're getting more activity in the muscle when we're working it, hence potentially improving our body composition even more from our exercise routine. And because improvements in body composition have been shown to lower LDL because of the muscle's metabolism of LDL, well, that could be one potential mechanism as to why she is experiencing lower LDL, and also other clientele as well have experienced the same trajectory with their LDL. It's quite amazing. I'm hesitant yet to put this program out there as the LDL lowering program because, of course, I'm such a scientist. I'm like, I need to actually go and do the study, wait another couple of years, but I have to put these case studies out there because it's amazing. Okay, so nitric oxide is number one. Number two, breath work helps you to regulate your heart rate variability even in real time, even when you're performing stressful exercise. So if we can improve our relationship to stress, our autonomic nervous system, that's our fight or flight or our rest and digest. If we can balance that out and just increase that parasympathetic nervous system just a bit while we're performing exercise, that helps with focus, that helps with calm. Why would that potentially be important for improving our body composition, which, as I've told you, does help to lower LDL? Well, if we can improve our focus because of our lowered fight or flight and our enhanced parasympathetic nervous system and our improved HRV, then we can improve our visualization of the muscle that we're working and our focus during exercise. Now, visualization of a muscle in many studies has shown to increase activity of a muscle. So if I'm working my glutes in a hip thrust and I focus on my glutes, it's like a meditation the whole time, studies have shown that there's increased activity in the muscle. They put this little electrode on the muscle. It's called an EMG, and it just shows the muscular activity while performing an exercise. So visualization in tandem with performing the strength exercise has been shown to increase activity of that muscle. And so why is that? Why potentially would breath work enhance that visualization? Well, if we can improve that HRV in real time, that heart rate variability, improve our focus through improving our calm, then we can enhance that visualization and that ability to stay focused during our strength training. There you go. Breath work with exercise is going to help you to meditate on that muscle and to visualize that muscle and really also have the desire to do it because you're feeling good. You're getting that flow state, breath work, and the increase in alpha waves, that flow state, right? So we're getting in a better flow state during our strength training. That's wonderful. So that's another potential mechanism by which combining the breath work and exercise and strength training could be more effective at improving and enhancing body composition than just exercise alone. Again, hypotheses here, so please call me out if you find errors in my thinking. I'm sure there are many. Again, I throw myself out there first and foremost as an artist. I'm making connections, so I would love to open this up to conversation. So visualization, HRV. Another potential mechanism is that by regulating our breathing during exercise, we are improving our carbon dioxide oxygen ratio. So through the Bohr effect, if we slightly slow down that breathing during exercise, we're increasing our carbon dioxide levels. Why is that good? Well, many of us don't realize this, but when you're unintentionally breathing during exercise, you're breathing too fast and too shallow, and you're potentially hyperventilating. Why would that be a bad situation for enhancing body composition and improving activity of the muscle? Well, if you're hyperventilating during exercise, you're lowering your blood carbon dioxide. When your blood carbon dioxide lowers, you potentially mess with, scientific term, you mess with the calcium metabolism or regulation that's going into and out of the muscle cell. Many individuals will experience muscle spasming when hyperventilating because of low calcium levels in the muscle cell. And so if we can improve our carbon dioxide levels during exercise, we've then improved that calcium. We'll just say calcium metabolism to keep it simple. It's much more complex than that. Lessening chances for muscle spasm, but also most importantly, if we're getting that proper signaling in the muscle and the calcium levels are more appropriate going in and out of the muscle, and we're also increasing the blood flow into the muscle cell and increasing the oxygen into the muscle cell when our carbon dioxide is increased in our body, well, then we've just enhanced the activity and improved the activity of the muscle during exercise. What does this do? This potentially could lead to improvements in strength, improvements in hypertrophy, which is the scientific term for just increased muscle during exercise by simply regulating our breathing during exercise. How freaking amazing is that? So here's another mechanism by which this case study could have lowered her LDL by combining breath work with exercise, is improving her carbon dioxide oxygen ratio during exercise. Now, going back to heart rate variability, because I forgot to mention this before, when we improve our heart rate variability during exercise, this is a wonderful way, as I said, to maintain that meditation, that calm, that visualization of the muscle, which can enhance muscle activity. But what about post-exercise? What about those bouts in between exercise, which is really where the body composition change is made, where the protein synthesis happens, where the repair happens, which is really maybe the most important period of time for us to make improvements in our muscle, because if we don't have the proper rest and recovery, then we are just going to promote inflammation. We're never going to give our muscles a chance to recover, break down, and then build up again before we train it again. Well, improvements in heart rate variability in between our bouts of exercise has certainly been shown to enhance recovery of the muscle cell in between our exercise sessions. So I know for sure that this case study has increased her resting heart rate variability by even just performing the breath work with exercise. Now, she is also performing some breath work in between exercise bouts, and so there could be another mechanism by which she's improving her body composition and therefore lowering her LDL cholesterol, because she has an improved heart rate variability, which is allowing her to speed up her rate of recovery in between her exercise sessions. And so that's a really important note, because there she could be simply lowering her LDL because she's recovering more quickly in between exercise bouts. And when she goes back to strength train, she's more adequately recovered, and the muscle tissue is just healthier, and she's increased her muscle mass more effectively because she's allowed her muscle to recover in between exercise, and she's not increasing that period of time between exercise bouts, but she's simply more effectively and at a quicker rate recovering that muscle cell. So if she allows 48 hours between strength training, she's 100% recovered now, and the muscle is then ready to be trained, versus previously maybe she was only 75 or 80% recovered because her heart rate variability was lower. So that's a really interesting note. I'm going to leave it there for now, because that was already a lot. And when I dove into these 30 studies where I was making these connections between how breath work and exercise could potentially be superior at lowering LDL cholesterol than simply exercise alone, there's a lot. And so I want you to wrap your brain around that. Let's leave this video thinking about let's review. What are the potential mechanisms by which combining breathwork and exercise could be superior at lowering LDL than just exercise alone? And this part 2 video is most focused on improvements in muscle metabolism, muscle health, and muscle mass. Could we be increasing our carbon dioxide levels both during and after exercise, which is going to enhance that muscle activity and potentially increase muscle mass and muscle strength over time? Increases in nitric oxide in the system when adding breath work with exercise, which increases blood flow into the muscle cell. Also, we know it lowers blood pressure, and it does all of these amazing things that also lower LDL. What else did I say here? I have a couple notes over here. Enhancements in muscle activity from visualization of the muscle cell because of the improvements in heart rate variability during exercise training, that ability to focus on the muscle, to meditate on the muscle. There are many others. I know there's even many others that I even talked about today. Also, the enhanced muscle activity during exercise enhances the ability for the muscle to metabolize blood glucose. And if the muscle can metabolize blood glucose more effectively, that is also correlated with lower LDL cholesterol. So really, we're looking at enhanced muscle activity when combining breath work with exercise versus unintentional breathing during exercise, right? Potential hyperventilation, not so great for calcium levels, for blood flow during exercise, versus hypoventilation, slightly slow breathing, which is going to it's going to reduce the chance of low calcium in the muscle cell, cramping, and keeping that blood flow high from carbon dioxide, nitric oxide, and reducing the risk of hyperventilation during exercise. So I'm going to leave it there. I know that was a lot, but again, I want to open this conversation up. So please, trainers, scientists, doctors, please call me out. I want to debate. I want to clear up my thinking about this also, because I've had amazing results. These are anecdotes. These are case studies that I've had, and I'm trying to figure out how this is happening, and this is just the beginning. So look out for part 3. And also, please visit me at hypoxix.fitness. That's hypoxix.fitness. That's where my free community is. That's where I perform my informal trials, my free 8-week cohort. So come on in and take that for free, because I want to see what kind of results you get. If you are someone who has high HDL, let's give it a go. I want to see what happens to you, because I've had amazing results and I want to help more people. I want to help. That is my life's mission. I want to help, and I want to teach you the breathography technique. Additionally, if you are a trainer, please take my continuing education course teaching you how to use your breath to activate your core during exercise. That's the breathing core. That's also on hypoxix.fitness. That is a course that you can use for your NASM, NSCA, ACE, AFAA, CEUs, for all of those amazing organizations. Also, I teach live classes where I combine my breathing technique, breathography, with exercise. That's breathwork with exercise, and that's at hypoxix.studio, hypoxix.studio. I hope I see you somewhere. Actually, I hope I see you everywhere, but I hope I at least see you somewhere. And look out for part 3, where we dive deeper into how combining breathwork with exercise could potentially be more effective than simply exercise alone with unintentional breathing for lowering LDL.